Good morning. Good. Doing well.
Let's give another minute to everyone else to join, Ben, and then we can start.
Sounds great.
Thank you. So I do have 5 p.m. Let's start. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everyone. This is Edward speaking. Thank you very much for joining today. As you can see, we have the pleasure to welcome our Chief Legal Officer, Ben Tyler. Ben, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. So Ben will share about what is actually happening behind the scene to protect ASEA in the long term, why it's important to have a certain framework we operate in, and what is important to know when we talk about ASEA. We believe that this can also help you to feel more confident about how you can share what we are doing. Before handing over to Ben, one quick remark from my side. ASEA as a company is very healthy. We are very safe. And when we are living a time where the macroeconomy is a bit more challenging, the approach of ASEA and the situation we are in gives us a lot of flexibility. It could be very tempting to move faster with regard to product launches, for example. It could be very tempting to open new markets much faster than what we are doing. Or it could be also very tempting to be more flexible in how we talk about ASEA, in the kind of claims we are using, etc., etc. But to leave a legacy, and this is the vision, the mission of the company, to leave a legacy, the direction is often much more important than the speed. So our purpose as a company, and Ben and his team are playing a key role here, is to do the right things right and to make sure that ASEA is still existing in 10, 20, or even 50 years. This is something very important. So that's it from my side. Ben, I'm handing over to you. Thanks again for your time. It's a great pleasure to have you with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Edouard. I'm grateful to be able to speak with you. I know most of you probably don't know very much about what a legal department does. Most people, particularly in the United States, don't have a very high opinion of lawyers. And there's a joke that said you shouldn't judge all lawyers by the 90% that are bad examples. And that's kind of true sometimes. I want to extend on what Edouard said and talk about the company that you've joined and that you've been a part of and that you invested a lot of your time, and just give you a sense of what we're doing to try to maintain that and to make sure that that continues. I've been an attorney for about 33 years now, and 25 of those years have been in the network marketing industry. I started out my career doing courtroom work as a litigator. And so I saw a lot of things, good and bad, about companies. I worked with one large company that was going into receivership, into bankruptcy. And so I saw a lot of the mistakes that were made by their senior management and things that they did that led to the destruction of that company. And then I joined, some of you may have heard of a company called Mirinda. They sell noni juice, or did sell noni juice. And I worked with them in 1998. I joined them as their first in-house attorney and worked with them for about 7.5 years. I went through all the growth, the international development, some of the good things and the bad things that they went through. And so it was a very good education for me to see what makes a good company good and what could potentially be a problem for companies. I left them in about 2005, and did or worked with two companies where I was the founder. I was one of the top executives, and one of them was in Japan. I speak Japanese and have lived in Japan a lot. But I spent a lot of time working with the top leaders. I spent time doing conference calls and presentations. I went to sales meetings. I did speaking tours. I even worked on some marketing material, which you might think is kind of funny for a lawyer. But I learned what it's like to be an associate, what it's like to create a company from the ground up and to go through all the struggles that you do when you're trying to build a business. And I did that for about 7 years and with two different companies. And of course, we weren't successful with those. And so I saw some of the reasons that lead to the failure of companies. And I spent 2 years after that with doTERRA. Some of you may have heard of doTERRA. They sell essential oils. Again, that's a very big company. And then, and I hate to say this because doTERRA is not a bad company, but one of the best days of my life was when I got a phone call asking me to come and join ASEA. Some of you may know that doTERRA is not very far. I can look out my window and see the building. And I had been recruited to come and join ASEA as their first in-house attorney. And I really wanted that job. I had met the people, Chuck Funky and Jerem Webb, and I was impressed by them as people. And the more I learned about the company, the more I really wanted to come here. And I can still remember the day that they finally offered me the job. I was so excited. I did a little dance in my office. I shut the door over there so no one would see me, because a guy my age dancing is not a pretty sight. Anyway, that gives me a background to say what I'm going to say about this company, ASEA. One of the things about a lawyer inside the company is you tend to know all the good things and all the bad things. People come to you with problems. They don't come to you with good news very often, even though we enjoy hearing good news. And so I get most of the bad news. And so I know what the challenges are and what the strengths are. I'll never forget the first time we had a challenge in the company, and I was meeting with the top people at the time. And I remember Chuck Funky. He asked me how we should resolve this problem. And I said, well, we have some good legal options. We can do this and we can do this, and this would probably resolve it. And he said, yeah, but is that the right thing to do? And I kind of looked at him and I said, he used the word ethical. And again, I apologize. I know most of you, English probably isn't your first language, and I'm always embarrassed that I'm the only one speaking English. There's a joke that says that if you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you speak only 1 language, then you're probably an American. And even though I speak Japanese, again, I'm grateful that you're willing to put up with me speaking in English. Chuck said, is that ethical? And I was a philosophy major, and so I know what ethical means. But we had some legal options that we didn't think were the right thing. And so we went in a direction that we felt like we were more comfortable ethically. And that taught me a very good lesson. And I'm passing this on to you so that you know the kind of people that you're dealing with as you invest your time and efforts into ASEA. The people at the top are even better than they look. I know many of you have heard Tyler and Chuck in particular speak at convention. And I've seen them at their best, and I've seen them when they're frustrated and are dealing with challenges. And they are very good people. And I've been here at this company longer than any other company I've been with. And I intend to be here for a long time. This is the company that I'm going to retire from, because I'm not even tempted to look anywhere else. And from time to time, someone will call me and I'll just turn them down flat. So I've invested literally the rest of my career into this company. So let's look a little bit about how the company's doing. A lot of companies fail financially. Someone once said that every company fails because of a lack of sales. And that's true. if you don't make enough sales to cover your expenses, you're not going to be able to stay in business. But we are very disciplined inside the company. And I'm speaking primarily of Dave Wall and Scott Aldred, whom you both know them, along with Chuck and with Tyler. We work very hard throughout our company to try to make sure that the expenses are well managed, that we are wise about how we open markets, how we do business. During the COVID pandemic, there was a huge disruption in the way that product is shipped. And it was very difficult for us to get product to the warehouses so that you could get it delivered to your customers. We worked very hard as prices increased to try to manage that. And I can honestly say that the financial health of this company is very solid. We are profitable. We don't have any long-term debt. And this is, of all the companies I've ever been with, I can certainly say that this is the best managed financially. Legally, I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about some of those issues. They're issues that hopefully you're never going to notice. There are things that we do in the background that make sure that you don't have to worry about them, because the worst thing for you to do is to spend all of your time, invest all of your relationships, work, struggle, build up a downline, have a good customer base that loves your products, and then to have that disappear because of some legal problem. I've seen that happen with other companies, and I can't imagine anything that would be more frustrating to you in your career. Ethically, too, again, I remember Chuck once said that no company is as good as it looks from the outside or as bad as it looks from the inside. And our company doesn't look very bad from the inside. From time to time, we see some of the problems. And of course, that's why we all have jobs, is to fix those problems. And the company does look good on the outside. At least I hope. Some of you may get frustrated from time to time with things that you don't like or wish could have been done a different way. But when you compare the things that we're doing with some of the other companies, for a company of our size, I think we're doing very well. So I'm grateful to be able to work with the people that I do. Companies are only as good as the people that manage them. And this is a good place for you to invest your time. Sometimes people say, well, why do we even have a legal department? You know, if we get a lawsuit from someone, we can hire outside lawyers, but do we need anybody on the inside? The purpose of a legal department is try to prevent problems from happening before they happen. There are a lot of things that we can do to prevent the kinds of either lawsuits, but primarily it's regulatory agencies. Living in Europe, I'm sure that you know that regulators, government agencies that want the business to be conducted in a certain way are a big part of your life. Anyone outside of Europe who travels to Europe, the first thing they notice is all of the cookie notices and all of the data privacy notices that they see when they are on the internet. There's a lot to be done in Europe, and we want to make sure, and have worked over the years very intently to make sure that those risks that might come up and affect your business, we use the word mitigated, that they're lessened or diverted, or that we have planned and prepared for something that might come up. So when something does come up, we're ready for it and we can deal with it and continue on with the business. So probably the main purpose of a legal department is, again, what we call risk mitigation. Any problem that might arise that might affect your ability to do business, that's what we do. Sometimes we call corporate maintenance or corporate governance. As you know, even though the EU, we tend to view that as one large governmental organization. As you all know, it's made up of a lot of separate countries. And while some of that makes it easier to do business in Europe, there are still individual aspects of each country that change the way we do business. And we have to maintain those differences between France and Italy, and let alone between Switzerland and Norway and now the UK, that are not part of the EU, but are also part of the large European market. I should pause at this moment, and I hope you're not too bored. The legal department generally is not the most exciting thing to talk about, but hopefully you never have to worry about it. One of the things that we help with is product registration when we go into these markets. The regulatory, what we call product regulatory, used to report to me and be a part of the legal department, but I'm still involved in that, even though now that goes up through Scott Aldred. But making sure that each product in each individual market is able to be bought and sold by all of you. Some of you are wondering why certain products are not available in certain markets, even in certain countries. Even though the European Union generally allows a product going in one member state to be sold in all member states, from time to time, we will see one member state or one country that'll object to a particular ingredient. And sometimes that happens after we've spent a lot of time and effort trying to make sure that everything is approved. And then one country will all of a sudden decide that one ingredient in one product is not available anymore. And that's a struggle that we're always trying to deal with. I know a lot of you are aware that the claims, meaning the things that we can say about products, are also sometimes a challenge, particularly with the ASEA Redox supplement, the blue bottle. You may wonder why people in the United States can say different things that people in Europe cannot. And that's a big part of what we do in our department. In the United States, they have a particular law that's called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. It was done back in the late 90s, and it made it permissible for someone to talk about the structure or the function of the body, meaning if a product improves, it strengthens my muscles, it helps with my blood sugar, it helps me sleep better or work better, something. It helps the body work more efficiently. Then you can make those claims in the United States. In Europe, they have a different system. In Europe, what they do is look at a particular ingredient like vitamin C. If you have that particular ingredient in your product, then there is an improved claim by the European Union that you can make. The challenge for us with the ASEA Redox supplement is, as you know, it's made from salt and water, which is then electrolyzed or processed by a proprietary process that we have revised and improved over the years. And it creates redox supplement or redox molecules. Well, in the European Union, they don't view redox molecules as something that need to be supplemented. It's not on their list. And so we're not allowed to talk about redox in the same way that we do in the United States. I know that's frustrating. It would be frustrating for you. It is frustrating for us as we try to work with associates and people who have questions about, why can't I say this? The people over in America are saying this. Why can't we say this over here? And again, it's because the laws are different. And that's a part of what we deal with in the legal department. And we are always looking out for different ways or different avenues of dealing with these claims, of talking about some of the science and trying to give you the information that some of you who have been to the United States are aware of or are able to find online. And hopefully you can, we can figure out ways that we can talk about that without getting the company into trouble. Chuck Funky once said to me that the purpose of a business is to make as much money as possible for as long as possible. As Edouard said at the beginning, it'd be easy to make as many cancer claims as we want, and we'd probably make a lot of money in a short period of time. And then we'd get caught, and then we'd get shut down, and all that time would be wasted. And particularly for people like you who are investing your relationships and your time, we're not willing to take that risk because we want to be able to keep this business going as long as possible. One aspect of the legal department that we are always looking at is online sales. Europe is one of the places where that's not as big of a problem as it is in some of the other markets. Amazon, eBay, we have lawyers that are working over there. And if we see people that are selling the product, often it's sold at less than the retail price or even the wholesale price, then we work hard so that doesn't get in the way of your business. We want people who are looking for our products to be able to come to you to find them and not to go somewhere else. We supervise the compliance department in the legal department. And some of you I know may get frustrated with that of people who are breaking policies and wondering why we don't take quicker action. We have processes that are dictated by the laws of the different markets that we follow, but that is part of the legal department. Trademarks. I have a good story about redox. some of you, and everyone knows what redox is. It's a scientific process that's part of chemistry that is the essential part of what we talk about with the ASEA redox supplement. Even though that word is a challenge in Europe because they don't want us to talk about the science. But many of you know about the drink Red Bull. We had Red Bull claim that our redox or Red Ox product was infringing on their trademark because, as you know, an ox and a bull are the same animal. So they said Red Ox is the same thing as Red Bull. And we had to explain, no, this is a scientific process. It's been around a long time and we're not using that as a trademark. We have lots of trademarks. We have ASEA as a trademark. We have Renew Advanced. And there are some issues with the cell performance where we try to manage those trademarks. Data privacy is another issue that has become a big part of all of our lives, particularly in Europe. It wasn't much of an issue several years ago. And then the GDPR, General Data Privacy Regulation, was passed throughout Europe. Europe was the first major market, the major part of the world where that came into place. And of course, that's rolling out over the rest of the world, particularly the United States and some of the other markets. It's not as much in Asia, but it's a big part of Europe. There are lots of things that we have to do with the way that our computer systems work, the way that some of the apps work, the way that information is shared, that we are constantly monitoring in order to keep from getting you or us into trouble, to be able to continue to do business. And that's a part of our world. I want to thank all of you for all of the work that you do. I wouldn't have a job if it weren't for you. Nobody in the corporate office sells anything. Our jobs are to make sure that your job of selling product to customers is as easy as possible, that we can support you as much as we do. My job is in the background to try to do all of that, to try to keep any obstacles out of your way and make it as easy as possible for you to continue to build your business. I am grateful to have been invited to come to Dubrovnik in June. And so hopefully I'll be able to meet a lot of you in person. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be coming with my wife. I've never been to Croatia before, even though I've been to Europe, and was at the Hungary event last year, which was also very exciting. But my wife was unable to join me, but she will be this time. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Again, I thank you for all of the work that you're doing and for your patience as you bump up against the legal department or the compliance department and sometimes may not understand why some rules are in place. Please ask us if you have any questions. We have a lot of people whose job is to try to explain some of these things to you. And so if you do have questions, please ask us. I'm grateful that you were willing to spend some time listening to a lawyer talk about regulations. That's certainly not the most exciting thing in the world. But again, with all of the time that I've spent, not only as a lawyer, but in network marketing, I am grateful to be a part of ASEA. It's the best company I've ever worked for. So thank you, Edouard, and thanks to each one of you for allowing me to take this time to talk with you today. And I hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Ben, thank you very much. And you made it exciting. We appreciate the lawyer jokes always. Yeah. Thanks for your time. Looking forward to see you in Dubrovnik very soon. And thanks for having enlightened us on what is happening behind the stage. I also would like to thank all the participants for your time. We have a lot of exciting things coming. Some of them will be announced and released in Dubrovnik. So if you qualified, congratulations again. And I'm looking forward to see you there. I wish you a very good start of summer. I hope you all have a better weather than we currently have in Munich. Thank you very much. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.